The lost city of Atlantis. People have been perplexed by Plato's depiction of the island nation of Atlantis for more than 2,000 years. Even today, questions still captivate researchers and explorers. Was Atlantis a real place or a literary allegory cautioning against arrogance? How could a culture that had the power to sustain a maritime empire and jeopardize Greece's security have just vanished? Why is Atlantis not mentioned in any other ancient writings besides Plato's? Where exactly was this island capital? What could possibly destroy this renowned country, as Plato projected? According to Plato, circa 424 to 328 BC, it was a strong and developed monarchy that submerged under the sea in a single day and night approximately 9600 BC. Since the 19th century, there has been a rise of curiosity about the connections between Plato's Atlantis and real-world locations, most notably the Greek island of Santorini, which was destroyed by a volcanic eruption around 1600 BC. Atlantis is described by Plato, via the dialogue character Critias, as an island larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined, situated in the Atlantic just beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which are typically taken to refer to the Strait of Gibraltar. Its constitution seemed curiously similar to the one described in Plato's Republic, despite its advanced culture. It was guarded by the god Poseidon, who appointed his son Atlas as king and gave the island and the surrounding seas his name. The Atlanteans' moral standards deteriorated as they rose in power. Their armies eventually conquered Africa as far as Egypt and Europe as far as Tyrrhenia before being driven back by an Athenian-led alliance. Later, as a kind of God's wrath, the island was ravaged by earthquakes and floods before sinking into a murky sea. According to Plato's Critias, he inherited the legend of Atlantis from his grandfather, who in turn got it from the Athenian statesman Solon, who lived 300 years before Plato, who in turn learned it from an Egyptian priest, who claimed it took place 9,031 years earlier. Whether or not Plato actually believed his own story, his goal in delivering it seems to have been to support his ideals of a just society by evoking more recent tragedies like the Trojan War or Athens' disastrous invasion of Sicily in 413 BC through tales of ancient triumph and tragedy. While Strabo, writing a few centuries later, mentions Aristotle's joking about Plato's capacity to create nations out of thin air and then destroy them, the historicity of Plato's story was disputed in ancient times. His pupil Crantor is reported to have believed it. Archaeologists and historians occasionally uncover evidence that could represent the origin of the Atlantis legend, such as a mysterious undersea rock structure in the Bahamas or a marshy, archaic metropolis in coastal Spain. The Greek island of Santorini, ancient Thera, a half-submerged crater formed by a huge volcanic eruption in the 2nd millennium BC, is the location with the greatest acceptance among these. Its tsunami may have accelerated the collapse of the Minoan civilization on Crete. Plato's imprecise descriptions of the event's timing led to a lot of unscientific theorizing. As a result, Atlantis has come to stand for all purportedly advanced prehistoric vanished civilizations, and it continues to influence modern fiction, including comic books and movies. Although modern philologists and classicists concur on the fictional character of the story, they disagree on the source of its inspiration. It is well known that Plato freely appropriated some of the allegories and metaphors he used from earlier cultures, as he did, for example, with the tale of Gyges. This prompted some academics to look into whether Egyptian records of the Thera eruption, the Sea People's invasion, or the Trojan War could have served as inspiration for Atlantis. Others disagree with this line of tradition, believing it to be impossible, and argue that Plato made up the entire story, only loosely based on actual historical events like the unsuccessful Athenian invasion of Sicily in 415 to 413 BC or the destruction of Halice in 373 BC. In an effort to find Atlantis, researchers have traveled the globe. What is your opinion on Atlantis? Is it real or fiction?